A vast wilderness unspoiled by the human hand. A place where the spirit still runs wild. Untamed by civilization and still swaying to the ancient rhythms. A land of fatal beauty. I'm professional photographer Ian Plant, and I travel the world looking for the most amazing places and moments to capture with my camera. And I have the privilege of teaming up with some of the best photographers on the planet. In February of 2020, I traveled to Mongolia to photograph its epic deserts and hidden wonders. Along with my good friend and colleague Erez Marom, we crisscrossed the country, exploring the wilderness by land, ice, and air. We endured frigid temperatures, harsh winds, and other hazards, all in our quest to tell the story of this ancient land. Yes! 2 photographers, 14 days, 1 mission to get the perfect shot, no matter what. Or at least that was the plan. But as it turns out, the timing of our visit couldn't have been worse. I mean, come on, who expects a global pandemic to ruin their photo adventure? Our guides meet us early in the morning, and in less than an hour, we are outside the capital city of Ulaanbaatar and out on the open road. Mongolia is the least densely populated country in the world, a fact which becomes obvious once you are only a few miles outside of the capital. Before you are even aware of it, civilization drops away, and you are lost in a sea of seemingly empty wilderness. Mongolia is dominated by arid desert and vast grasslands known as the steppe. The short grasses that grow on the steppe provide ideal grazing for cattle, goats, horses, camels, and massive herds of gazelles. Eventually, we leave the highway to explore the steppe on our way to our first photo destination. The Flaming Cliffs, which formed over 70 million years ago, are made of red sandstone, and at sunset, the cliffs glow with a fiery light, making them a brilliant slash of red in an endless expanse of monochrome. Once we arrive, we start to explore the area, scouting for compositions for sunset. I've potentially got an interesting photograph here at the Flaming Cliffs. I've got this interesting sandstone formation in the background, and it's catching the light of the sun setting behind me. And in my foreground, I've got some snow that's been sculpted by the winds, and the winds are blowing really hard right now. And I'm waiting for the moment when I still have that last light on the sandstone, but I want my foreground in shadow, because right now the light is on it coming from behind me, so my shadow is actually in the shot. So I want to wait for the moment when the light gets down and the foreground is in shadow, but there's still light on that sandstone formation. Now, of course, this makes it difficult to visualize what that's going to look like because my foreground has light on it right now. So there's light on part of it, there's shadows, and those shadows are going to disappear when the whole thing goes into shadow. So the whole foreground's going to look different when the sun sets behind me. So I'm hoping that I guessed correctly and picked a foreground that's going to work with my background. So my fingers are crossed. Let's hope this all works out. We stay around after the sun sets to work the evening twilight glow, shooting until it gets dark. And then we retire for the evening before moving on to our next photo destination. The Congar Dunes of the Gobi Desert are also known as the Singing Sands because of the sound the wind makes when scraping over the dunes. The Congar Dune Field is massive, covering an area of almost 400 square miles, with the tallest dunes about 1,000 feet high. It is truly a stunning sight to behold. So we're gonna climb up into the dunes for sunset, and we're hoping to get some great light so we can make some really strong dune photographs. Now, the key to making good dune shots is strong light, colorful light at sunrise and sunset. We've got some haze and a few clouds in the sky, and that's gonna bounce some white light into the shadows, which is gonna reduce the separation between the shadows and the light, and it's gonna be less effective for photography. We're hoping that those clouds will clear out, we'll get some stronger light, and we'll make some amazing photographs. If not tonight, we're here for several days, so hopefully at some point we'll get the shots that we want. All right, it's time to start climbing. Let's go. We hike deep into the dune field, looking for interesting compositions. There are basically two key ingredients to successful dune photography: wind and light. Wind forms sand dunes and creates patterns, shapes, and ripples in the sand. And most important, wind removes footprints and other unsightly blemishes, creating pristine photo scenes. The second critical ingredient is light. Sand dunes look best in strong, colorful, angled light, which means that sunrise and sunset are the best times to photograph dunes. The challenge is to find a good composition before the peak light and color fades, and to make sure you don't accidentally walk into what could be your best shot. As the sun dips below the horizon, we scramble to find powerful compositions. But it's our first day here, and sometimes it takes a few days to get into the rhythm of the place and to figure out how to get the best photos. All right, we just got done with our first day in the dunes, and I don't think either of us had much luck. I photographed many dune fields that were more attractive than this one, so I think this is going to require a lot more work and dedication to find something that is going to be a compelling photograph. And it's been difficult because I think there was a snowfall here recently that melted, and so a lot of the dunes are very hard packed. So we're not seeing a lot of really strong rippled patterns. The wind hasn't come and shifted the sand around enough yet. So it's been really difficult finding decent foregrounds. I've made some good photographs, but what I want is great photographs. So we've got a few more days here. We're just gonna keep working at it until we find a way to bring it all together.
My whole idea when coming to Mongolia was getting these Gobi Desert dunes with snow on them and beautiful ice formations for the foreground. We have been getting a little bit of snow on the dunes. We have been getting some nice ice formations in the foreground. What we haven't been getting is light. One side of the dunes is facing east and one is facing west. At sunrise, if the horizon is clear, we were supposed to get beautiful light shining straight on the dunes. However, every morning we were here, there's been a cloudy horizon. We've been out here a few days already, haven't been getting any luck. We've been trying to capture some images that say Mongolia, and this has proven quite hard. However, light has been suboptimal, and I'm getting frustrated.
All right, we've got some good luck here. The light broke free from the clouds, and it's not really strong, colorful sunrise light, but it's still pretty good. There's a nice angle to the light. There's some great shadows in the dunes, and we've got some stormy clouds in the distance. So Eris and I are both flying our drones to take advantage of this to try to get some really nice shots of the dunes. But while flying, I saw this frozen river, this narrow ribbon of ice, and it's pointing towards where the sun is just beginning to peak from outside of the cloud. So I'm flying over the frozen river and using that as a foreground leading into that sun coming off from behind the cloud in the background. And I'm underexposing the shot a lot by 2 stops so that all I'm going to be seeing is the stormy cloud, the sun peeking out, and the reflection of the sun in the ice below. I think it's going to be really dramatic. It's going to be a really nice, intimate shot. Oh yeah, I'm liking how this is coming together. This is really sweet. I'm just going to keep moving back and forth along the river, checking out the various S-curves in the river until I find the perfect one to make a composition that I think is going to bring everything together. All right, well, I'm done with that shot. Now I'm going to fly my drone over the dunes and try the same thing. I'm going to be aiming my camera towards where the sun is. The sun's gotten a little bit higher now, so I can keep the sun out of the image frame, but I could still be angling my shot towards the sun, so all the dunes will be side-lit or backlit. And with those dramatic storm clouds in the background, I think this is going to be pretty sweet.
The car is stopped a few hundred meters away from the dunes. And for that purpose, I have the drone. It's super easy to fly over. And while I'm flying, I can see to both sides. There's kind of a panoramic look, so I can see where I should fly to get that specific composition I'm going toward. Basically, when doing aerial photography, my considerations, or especially my compositional considerations, are the exact same like when doing land-based photography. I'm looking for a foreground, I'm looking for a good composition, leading of the eye from the foreground to the background. I'm looking for a beautiful, separated, detailed, prominent foreground element, and I'm trying to make it work together with the other elements in the frame to make a beautiful composition. For example, here I have a beautiful detailed foreground. There's the dunes, the shadows, the snowy patches from the snow a week or two ago. And as a background, I have an entire sea of dunes. It's pretty beautiful, I think. Not only is it beautiful, but it says Mongolia. In deserts, usually you don't get that much snow, but here you have a lot of snow in winter. And even though it's been sunny for the last few days, the snowy patches remained and are giving another dimension to the dunes. It's beautiful.
While Ares continues to fly his drone, I take some time out with the guides to engage in some shenanigans.
All right, now it's my turn. Yes! Epic fail!
After the morning shoot, we return to our gur, which is a nomadic tent that's still used by the Mongolian people. It's actually quite comfortable, and the central fireplace keeps it toasty and warm. It's time to fuel up on dumplings and coffee to get ready for our return to the dunes in the afternoon. So what's in the camera bag? Well, I always carry my drone with me wherever I can legally fly it because it allows me to get unique aerial perspectives. So it's a real great tool to have along. But for land-based photography, I'm relying primarily on two lenses. One is my Tamron 15 to 30 millimeter ultra-wide zoom lens, and the other is my Tamron 35 to 150 millimeter short telephoto zoom lens. So the wide angle zoom is the one that's probably going to come out of my camera bag most. What can I say? I'm a wide angle junkie. I love the ultra wide perspective, so I'll be using this probably 95% of the time. The 35 to 150 isn't going to come out as much, but it's nice to have just in case I need to zoom in on a distant landscape or shoot an intimate scene. What I love is that these two lenses mate well together. The 15 to 30 and the 35 to 150 millimeter come together perfectly, covering a focal range from ultra wide angle to short telephoto on a full frame camera. And the two lenses together don't weigh that much, so it keeps my kit light, which is perfect for international travel. All right, today is our second day in the dunes and we're having much better luck. Some of the haze that we had yesterday has cleared out and we've got a few white clouds moving in, and I've got a scene set up here with some ripples in the foreground and a really nice dune in the background. And I'm using the ripples to lead the eye to the background dune, and then the dune is the central focal point of my composition. So now I'm just gonna wait for the sun to drop a little bit lower so that the shadows in the ripples get stronger, so they'll be more defined, and the color will be nicer. So I'll have a nice reddish light on the dunes. So at about an hour before sunset, that's when the light starts getting really good. I'll have about 45 minutes of quality shooting. When the sun gets down near the horizon, it's gonna hit some of that haze that's still there, and the light's gonna weaken and it won't be as strong, and I'll lose some of the shadows. So really I've got about a 45-minute period where the light is perfect, and all I have to do is wait for the sun to drop a bit so that the light is right, and I'll be able to complete this composition and get the shot that I want.
For the first time since we've been here, there's absolutely no wind. I'm almost comfortable. That's great.
Some clouds have drifted in over the dune. I've got these really nice ripples, very long ripples pointing down this dune that I'm on, and they're pointing straight to the dune in the background. So I've switched from horizontal to vertical to accentuate those ripples to give them more prominence in the composition, and also to include lots of that beautiful sky in the background. The light is dropping. The scene is beginning to look pretty good. I think in about 20 minutes it's going to happen, and I'm real excited about this. I think it's going to be a great shot.
So this is looking pretty beautiful. We're standing on top medium-sized dune, and our cameras are very close to the sand. The reason we're doing that is to create depth by blowing up the foreground, being very close to the ripples in the foreground. The reason we're standing here is here the ripples are pointing straight from us to the other dune that we're shooting, and that creates a nice leading of the viewer's eye from the foreground to the background. In between the foreground and the background, in the midground, there are a lot of different formations, there are a lot of shadows, there are some ripples that are pointing in other directions. All of this serves the composition and adds a lot of depth and interest to the frame.
Finally, we got some epic light and some amazing compositions. These are the shots that we came halfway around the world for. We're hitting our stride. Luck is finally turning in our favor, and I think that this trip is going to be great. We're going to get lots of amazing photos. I can't wait for our next photo destination.
We're hitting our stride. Luck is finally turning in our favor, and I think that this trip is going to be great. We're going to get lots of amazing photos.
Quick update, we're halfway through our trip, and it turns out that the entire country seems to be shutting down because of fears of the spread of coronavirus. When I flew into Mongolia, coronavirus was still contained mostly within China. But after I came in, there was an outbreak in South Korea, and all the flights to South Korea were canceled. Of course, I flew in and I fly out to South Korea, so I'm gonna have to rebook and find another way home. And it looks like there might be some more flight cancellations on the way. I think the government of Mongolia is worried that they don't have the health infrastructure to deal with an outbreak of coronavirus if it were to reach the country. So they're taking extraordinary steps to make sure it doesn't come into the country. The last thing we want to do is get stuck here. Mongolia is a lovely country, but both of us need to get home and need to get ready for our next photo adventures. So we are kind of scrambling to come up with an option here. What's making things difficult is that all the roads are now closed. We've been in the wilds of the Gobi Desert for the past few days and have been insulated from everything, but now that we're back in civilization briefly, we're trying to get back to the capital city of Ulaanbaatar, and the highways are closed, and we're trying to find a way to get around that. So it may be a long day of travel just to get back to the capital city, and then from there, we're hoping we'll figure out what's going on and take whatever steps we need to make sure that we get out of here before the flights are canceled altogether.
Appears like the second segment of our trip, the trip to Khubsgun Lake, is cancelled because of the corona epidemic and the corona panic. So appears like our trip is cut short. We're gonna have to come home early.
Yeah, so I think the only thing we need to do now is to find a way back to the capital. As I said earlier, the roads are all closed, and we're trying to find a way to get around it so we can get back to the capital, and there we have to find some flights that haven't been canceled and escape Mongolia, and hopefully escape the coronavirus as well. We've been working with the local government official to get permission so we could drive back to the capital, and so far no positive results are forthcoming. So we are currently stuck in the city of Dalanzagad, and we're got our fingers crossed that we'll be able to find a way to get permission to get back to the capital. We both have flights out in 2 days' time, so that's how much time we have to get back to the capital to make our flights out of the country. Here's hoping. We've been spending most of the day trying to get permission to take the road to the capital.
It's the corona!
So it looks like we're stuck in Dalanzagad for one more night. Might as well stock up on critical supplies.
The platinum shot only one medal. The gold one is
better?
Yeah, gold is many medals.
Platinum is slightly more expensive though.
Yeah,
Which will you buy?
All of them.
Well, so we weren't able to get permission to use the highway today to get to the capital, so we're spending another night in Dalanzadgad, and hopefully tomorrow we will get the permission that we need. We've been assured that we will, but I'm skeptical at this point. I fly out the day after tomorrow, so I'm hoping that we'll get the permission and I'll make my flight. If not, there's not another flight out of here for like a week. So fingers crossed. All right, day 2 of the coronavirus saga. We are still stuck in Dalen Zagad, and it doesn't look like we're going to get out today. So hopefully tomorrow or the next day. Of course, tomorrow is Saturday, and I've been assured that the government is actually open for the weekends. So hopefully our guide will continue to walk the halls of the local government office until he finds the right person who can give us permission to get back to Ulaanbaatar. But it's beginning to look very clear, like my flight tomorrow morning is not going to have me on it. Good news, it's 5 p.m. on Friday, and we finally got permission to leave. I don't know how good this permission is, whether it's going to get us all the way to the capital or not, but there's only one way to find out. So I'm going to get my luggage together and get on out of here. Now we are attempting to escape from Dalen Zagad. All right, we're approaching the police checkpoint. We'll find out soon whether we can get through. We made it onto the highway, but that's only through one checkpoint. Let's see if we can make it all the way to the capital. Finally, the freedom of the open road on the way to Ulaanbaatar. All right, we've hit our first checkpoint on the road, and even though we have official permission, it looks like the guards are giving us a hard time about letting us through. So our guide is trying to figure everything out, and he's working with the guards here at the checkpoint. So hopefully we'll make it through. All right, our guides have been invited inside the guardhouse, presumably for some dumplings and some vodka. So I think that's a good sign. Fingers crossed. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling positive. I think we're gonna get through.
Are you, Ian? Are you feeling positive?
No, I'm faking it. Finally, success. Forward motion is achieved. All right, we're driving through. Yes.
Yes!
Back on our way to Ulaanbaatar. Woo! Victory! It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm exhausted, but we finally made it to Ulaanbaatar. And tomorrow morning, this morning, actually, in a few hours, we fly out. So hopefully we'll get out of here without any problems.
Using this one for sure. What do you think? This or this?
Great success. Finally, escape. Although we're both disappointed that our trip got cut drastically short, we're glad to have made it back to the capital, and the stress of the past few chaotic days begins to fade away. I'm sure I'll return to Mongolia someday to finish what I started, but for now, it's good to be heading home so I can get ready for my next amazing photo adventure. Landscape photography isn't just about taking pictures of beautiful scenery. It's about telling the story of the landscape, and it's about telling your story as an artist. I'm professional photographer Ian Plant, and my courses are designed to give you the technical skills that you need to succeed and to help develop your own personal creative vision. So, are you ready to share your story with the world?